Thank you, Jessamine. Good morning, everybody. It's so good to see different faces. As Jessamine said, I would love to see your faces too. It always makes it much better for us and much more interesting. I'm just going to go and share my screen with you guys. Just one moment. Does it work? Can you guys see the screen? Does it say home in it?
Yeah.
Is the same right one? Great. Okay, so I'm so excited. How many times in our life we say, I need to go home? What we really mean then can be very hard to explain because it is a mix of feelings and expressions. Home can be so many things: the body, the land, the safety, the understanding, the acceptance, the curiosity and sharing. Home can simply and so complicatedly be just us. As a Jerusalem girl, I moved a lot from a home to another when my father was studying his PhD. None of these houses were ours. War was happening outside in every step, a threat in every breath. But I still, as a child, felt so safe. I felt at home because my mom was always there. We had a simple life and days that a child treat was a luxury, but we were satisfied. We were happy as a family. We were raised with love, away from the society judgment and following rules no one agreed to, until we moved. Growing up, I always called Jerusalem home, even if most of my life was all away from it. And when I moved to Australia, I wondered how long it will take me to feel home, if I will ever feel so. So, what is home? Home for many of us is where we last saw our mom, gathered with our childhood friends and made memories we would never repeat again. Home can be a song we heard under the vine tree, the smell of our favorite dish, filling the whole neighborhood walking back from school. A hug from our grandmother that smells like za'atar, or that pile of pillows that we jumped on for days and filled our heart with happiness. Home can be a knock on the door from your next neighbor with a nice dish, a small plant given to you by a friend who thought you would like it, or a call from a family member you have never seen for so long. But what if home was the lady in the post office, the old uncle in the grocery store, or someone you never met before? When I first came to Australia, I landed in WA. Just by the way, this is my last photo before I left my mum, and that's my wedding. When I came to Australia, I was a refugee, a romantic refugee, and I had to be with my husband away from my home and his. That's my goodbye photo. And when I landed in Australia, I landed in WA, in Bunbury, southeast of WA, where people were so lovely and so friendly in the shops, the farmers market, in the streets. People always asked, "Hey, how are you?" And that made me feel so welcomed, to the extent that when my mom called and said, "Hey, Aseel, what if," because she really wanted me to go back home, "what if you live in your favorite city, Haifa? You and Emil, you could buy a house there, like just look all these beautiful beaches. Would you come back?" I said, "Mom, are you serious? You have no idea how amazing that place is. How beautiful and warm people are here. They say hi and how are you all the time." Until one day, not far away from that conversation, maybe a week or two, I was feeling so homesick and so sad. And I was walking around the beach when a person walked next to me and said, "Hey, how are you?" I was so happy because I really wanted to talk about it in person. But the person kept walking as if he have never asked the question. Then I really wanted to run after him. I was like, hey, hello, I'm not really very well. But I couldn't because he was so far away then. Do you know how many people call Australia home every day, but they're here by themselves, away from all the life they once had? And that we, yes, the people they meet are the only ones that can make it totally different for them. We can make it home. So home is acceptance. And I know that it's very hard to talk to strangers. It can be very weird, embarrassing, and sometimes scary, but it can mostly be warm, supportive, inspiring. It's a mutual benefit when people realize its beauty. Let me tell you a story. One day, I was in the tram heading to the city. It was such a warm day. And hot, sunny, summery, wintry kind of Melbourne. Sorry, I said wintry because I was about to say Melbourneian. So wintry, summery, everything, but really hot day. And I sat next to a lady that said to me, "Aren't you hot?" I think she knew the answer herself, sitting next to me sweating. But what she was really interested in is want to know about my hijab, like, obviously. As many people, I had two options. The first one is to ignore, reply in a short answer, or to genuinely tell her how I feel. And you can imagine, I said, of course, it's hot. That's why I wear light, bright colors, not like freezing today, but it was a white, kind of light colors to keep me away from the sun. I've been wearing this hijab for 20 years, and it's my choice. It's actually cooler if you wear it and cover your body in summer. Just try it. I know that the people around me in the tram were wondering, how dare she ask? And others were expecting loud, annoyed conversation. But I ended up with a new, curious, courageous human in my life that made the rest of the day much more beautiful because someone in my head, I felt someone there to ask, which is something that I have been trying to do in Melbourne and encourage people to do. Just before I moved to Australia, many people in my art community said, "Aseel, you are going to Australia, you will take off your hijab to feel part of the people and be free." I said to be free is to do what I want and still be welcomed. And so it happened. Home is curiosity. I actually might be more comfortable when people ask me about things, when people talk to me than when they don't. When they sit, I will be uncomfortable when they sit away than when sit close, when they get scared from just talking to people, sorry. I know we are not all the same. And where I was raised, it's open houses and noisy neighborhoods. But I met many people that dared to ask a woman of color, a hijabi, with basic English, when I first came here at least, "What is in your plate? That looks delicious." That's all it took them to start a warm conversation and ending at my home to try some nice food. Let me tell you another example of how risky a question can be. A few years ago, I was running a workshop at one of the community houses, and a 4-year-old girl was staring at me all the time. I got closer to her and asked, "What are you thinking about?" She smiled, got a little shy, and said, "Do you have hair?" I did not think twice. I walked with her somewhere where I could take my hijab off, and the moment I took the cover off and just did this and released my hair, I could not see her. She ran so fast, calling, "Mom, Mom, she has hair." That moment, I learned a lot about the power of question in our life. That when you genuinely ask the question, people feel it and genuinely answer. Home is feeling welcomed. When I lived for Australia for 4 years or 3 years before, and it was so strange for a Palestinian to live on a colonized land. And I lived with lots of complicated feeling before a phone call. And let me tell you that being asked to celebrate a First Nations social justice warrior, Jackie Huggins, that day changed my life forever. I felt that I'm allowed to be in places I was not invited to before. I learned more about people's culture, their lives and their practices, their stories of home, the way they grown up, the traditions that they respect, and something that we all need is to genuinely exist a being loving and curious, which I'm sure many of you here are like that. We just live in a space that is built on individual living. And now, especially in this time of history, we need to start thinking of how can we be partners in making this place home for many. People like me that cannot go to their home and see their families, or people that have been isolated in one room for weeks and weeks. Then I felt courage to create my own art, to share my own stories. That year, 2017, was the idea of Bookchair was born. What I thought was a small performance was here to stay. Bookchair, I just share. Bookchair started as a series of performances by refugees taking place in a disaster relief tent at Melbourne Immigration Museum almost like 4 or 5 years ago. Since then, it's grown to be a website, a community of artists, a series of workshops, schools, public performances, events, and a way for people to really hear the stories that refugees bring with them. How can a theatre show make you feel home? Well, because it wasn't only a show, it was a lifestyle. What Bookchair means is the sack of belongings. And as a child, most of my childhood had displacement photos. People carrying their own belonging, a piece of fabric, wrapped and walking on rusty roads. I asked myself as a child a lot, what magical thing people must carry to survive such a hard journey? When people feel homesick, in pain, or even hungry, that magical sack was there to help. What was in it? I asked many people and hundreds of refugees and asylum seekers, those who have been forced to leave their homes and not often choose their new one. For the most of them, it wasn't really what was in the sack. For most of them, it was who actually carried it with them in that journey. It was how they felt when they started that life-changing step, how they feel every day adapting to it. Just the how are you feeling today could change their life forever. And trust me, yours too. I walk past the uncle in the grocery shop every day. He's a smiling man who had lots to give. He always treats my little daughter with lots of love. A man from Iraq whose hands have been mangled in torture of wartime in Baghdad. And when one day I stopped next to him crying about the story of the lady in the bakery shop, a man next to him said, you haven't heard the uncle's story. I looked at him and I said, Uncle, would you like to tell me yours? That day that I asked him, he was looking for that moment to share. We both sat silently and really listened to each other and cried for hours. So, what is in it? What is it for? What it is there for you? Why would you do that? I know it's hard to talk to people, to strangers. Well, for me, it was an Indian homemade dish with a friend, a new plant, or just a beautiful, unforgettable chat, and many other examples in my life that made it so welcoming. I met Camille, that played for us beautifully before, through a project for his beloved Lebanon. And he became my favorite uncle for my daughter. Because I just asked him, he's laughing there, would you like to come over for dinner? I met Sandeep, who is an amazing person, through a migration program, and asked about parenting, home, diaspora. And since we became close, sharing our deep connections between us, cooking together and sharing struggles as a family away from home. Don't assume that other persons and other people around you have enough friends around. Don't want to chat to you or will be rude and ignore you. Just try it. After making it my life, trust me, it's worth the effort. For my little one, being home wearing pyjama is feeling home and safe. She went to childcare, and in the most comfortable clothes, she said, "Mama, it feels like I'm home." So maybe comfort is a magical ingredient to feel home. But man, we cannot really walk outside wearing sleeping clothes. But what we can do is making people feel safe to share. This is definitely a winning ingredient for us. So why? This morning, I shared a small part of my story. And there's many, many more to tell. Talk to people. Talk to the MRI receptionist. Talk to the people you walk in the street. Talk to people you love seeing and you like their smile and you feel in it there's lots of warmth. You will know who's the right person to talk to by just looking at them. Maybe my story is a short one today. There's many, many more to tell you. But next time you ask someone in the street, "Hey, how are you?" please be ready to unpack with them their Bookchairs and listen. Thank you very much.
Wow, Aseel, thank you so much. I knew that you were the right person to talk to. and Rita was, wow, that was just so special. And can I also just point out, Aseel and I did not coordinate this amazing color coordination today, totally by chance. We have a really special treat for you guys now. We're actually going to invite Camille back, and Camille and Aseel are going to perform a song together to round out Aseel's talk for you this morning. While they're doing that, if you want to have a think about any questions you'd like to ask Aseel and pop them in the chat, that would be wonderful. And you're also, as I said, very welcome to ask questions with your voice if you would like to do that too. Thank you so much, Aseel and Camille. We'll give you a minute to get yourselves set up and ready to go.
While Camille is putting, can you guys hear us?
Yes.
There's someone here in that audience I would like to also thank. She doesn't know I'm gonna say that, but while I was struggling with English and structure and like how I best do this, Joe Evans have really put hours and hours to just help this happen. She's another person that made me feel home. And I love her so much because she unconditionally love, and love can be in so many ways. She might not necessarily cook for me, but she really gives lots of hours into the way like she loves and she cares. And it's kind of like, that's just a way to say that, you know, love come in so many ways and home come in so many different small things. Just being loved by people is great, and I would really love you to try it. So I get emotional when I talk about that, but it's just a try. It's like a small experiment that you do to make yourself first feel home and make others do as well. Like, it's just a beautiful feeling to have. The song we're gonna sing for you today, I have to apologize. I have a sick daughter, and that affected also my throat, so like breathing onto my face all night, but I hope it will be just out of my heart, so I hope that it make you feel home. And the song is about the sea and how hard and rough is the sea, and how people, like us, always wait until it slows down to go back to our home countries and be with our people and friends. So whenever you are ready, Camille. هدي يا بحر هدي، طولنا في غيبتنا، ودي سلامي ودي للأرض اللي ربتنا. ودي سلامي يا نجوم عالبيادر والكروم، وبعد الفراشي بتحوم عم مستنظر عودتنا. سلم سلم عبلادي يابا تربة بي وجدادي، وبعد العصفور الشادي يابا بغرد لعودتنا. وعهد الله وعهد الثوار ما بنسى عهدك يا دار، ومهما طولنا المشوار يا براجع لك يا ديرتنا، راجع لك يا ديرتنا.